My name is Sarah Donnelly. I'm an assistant professor in social work in University College Dublin. I'd like to welcome and introduce the speakers of the second work package of the HARP project. Mei Chun Chung is a clinical psychologist and associate professor at the Department of Social Work, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Hashim Manan is an associate professor at University College Dublin's School of Nursing, Midwifery and Health Systems. Hashim, now and myself are also members of UCD Centre for Interdisciplinary Research, Education and Innovation in Health Systems, or IRIS as it's also known. Mayoko Shushimuro is a professor at the Department of Visiting Nursing at Shiga University of Medical Science. Each speaker, now and Dr. Akio Yumoto from Chiba University team played a major role in leading this work package 1 and 2, which was designed to explore stakeholders' perceptions regarding care robots in France, Hong Kong, Ireland, and Japan. Our presentation this morning is entitled, Can Care Robots Assist Older People and Long-Term Care Systems? Key Stakeholders' Perceptions in France, Hong Kong, China, Ireland, and Japan. Assistive technology such as care robots are now seen as a core part of the solution to global aging and really have begun to be employed in many care settings. We know that care robots are designed to enable active aging as well as aging in place with support to older persons, their families and health and social care professionals. The aim of this interview study was to understand the perceptions of stakeholders in France, Hong Kong, China, Ireland and Japan regarding the current state of affairs surrounding the use of care robots in all of these jurisdictions. We can see here is a lovely table of some of the demographics of our older populations in each of the jurisdictions involved in this study. And as we can see, the proportion of older people aged 65 older varied a little bit between the countries. So France, we have 20.5% of the population aged 65 and older, whereas Ireland is the lowest at 14.5%. Hong Kong, conversely, we have 19.1% of people aged 65 and older, and Japan with the highest number of older people aged 65 and older at 28.4%. In terms of the Irish context, I think it's interesting to note that there hasn't yet been a government-wide coordination around artificial intelligence and robotics in connection with our health and social care systems. Our Department of Health has initiated what we call a Blue Skies policy project, which very much looked at the potential for AI and robotics to transform the health workforce and also our health services in Ireland. This very much reflects the government's commitment shown in the National Health Reform Programme, Sláinte Care 2018. And again, digital health has very much been promoted as a way of enabling Ireland to become a recognised global hub. At the European level, a report, Ethics Guidelines for Trustworthy Artificial Intelligence, has also been published in April 2019. I'll now hand over to Mei Chun.
So let's see the development of care robot in Hong Kong during recent years. In 2019, the government has invested 1 billion to establish the Innovation and Technology Fund for application in elderly and rehabilitation care. The Care and Rehabilitation Service Unit for older unit can submit their application to procure, rent, and trial use technology product. Up to now, the government has opened 2 rounds of application, granting about 140 million to subsidize 770 senior citizen and rehabilitation service units to procure or rent over 2,900 technology products. In 2020, the Legislative Council also issued application of general technology in elderly care service. In order to further explore the stakeholder perception regarding the care robot, we have carried out 25 semi-structured interviews in 4 jurisdictions, including France, Hong Kong, China, Ireland, and Japan. All participants are either working in the care sector or very familiar with AT research and policy. We asked them some questions that will explore such as their occupation, their role and responsibility, their relationship with AT, and their familiarity with robot. As well, they are asking about their perception regarding the use of AT in social unit and their view on the facilitator or barrier to social implementation of assertive technology. Further vision for independent living in old age and the impact of COVID-19 on future use of robot in care also be asked. Okay. So in 3 jurisdictions, except for Japan, the use of care robot is relatively new, though many respondents were very familiar with the power and the pepper. In fact, they have great expectation for the use of care robot and assertive technology in general, especially in Hong Kong and Ireland. Older people are believed to fall through the crack in their respective two-tier care system, and many respondents state that care robots are the most needed in order to fill the gap. Regarding the barrier to a wider use of a care robot, we find that there are several levels of barrier, including the economic market and public policy, such as the funding by the government, the cost for individual and organization user, and also the government attitude. In addition, perception among people in society may also affect the popularity of care robot in the society. For instance, they may have fear of unknown and also the lack of awareness, such as the benefit and type of the robot. Regarding the professional, we find that they also have some resistance to use in their unit. For instance, they may have lack of education or relevant training, the support and the maintenance. And even some of them may be fear of losing their job and role, being replaced by the robot. Regarding the infrastructure, there is also a lack of ITC environment and also the living lab to test the assertive technology. And sometimes some of the residential care may also need to be changed to home care as well. So over to you, Hashi.
I'm going to focus on additional findings from this semi-structured interviews that were carried out. One of them is related to the interaction that is had between individuals and the robot. And given it is understood within the terminology human interface between individuals and robots, these set of quotations are very interesting, where they talk about the great expectation, which is around how the interaction may take place and what are some of the advantages, in fact, around interacting with an interface that is supported by computers and in a manner that mimic human behavior, but without some of the challenges. For example, the notion around hard feelings. The quotation in the slide, robot is a tool, so the elders will not have too much hard feelings. Robots would not judge you after all. So certain elements of human emotions, human errors, those seems to be taken away, and people who have experience of developing these technologies are also highlighting it. So are advocacy groups who think that, look, this is going to be able to mitigate some of the gaps that we have, whether they are time constraints and or issues related to quality. So the care elements being supplemented by social care robots. So again, the expectation is quite high that in the future, with the policy context and the technology context coming together, the expectations can be met by the appropriate levels of work in the area of technology, and also working in acceptance of these robots in social care setting. So in terms of the time context, we can see here it's been spoken about, from the Irish context, do you want me to make an appointment? That's something that a robotic instrument could provide linkage to appropriate services rather than waiting for a human-to-human interface. And of course, with the interaction between people and the robots themselves, also are with due care needs to be captured in the ethical considerations. And a number of participants talked about that, and particularly in terms of unintended consequences. And looking at it from a long-term perspective, that's been highlighted to be one of the key considerations that has to be made as in country contexts like in Ireland, where we are still to move into the area of robots being placed in care settings and trying to have them implemented in a larger scale. There is much to learn from this area of consideration, particularly the ethical considerations, as these robots are also retainer of a lot of information. How is that retained? Who has access to it? And how we should be able to safeguard that, because at the end of the day, we need to do that on a basis of trust, but withholding that information to when it is not appropriate and where to disclose that. So having the rubrics around that in terms of ethical considerations has been highlighted. And we can see that, growing distrust between citizens and the state. We need to be mindful, and the quote from a dementia care researcher from Hong Kong illustrates that, which states the distrust of the government or organizations, even for the researcher. Some elder may have a query about why we need to take their information. So informing of the need for the information, informing how it will be recorded and used, and who has access to it. So people being very clear when they're providing the information, how it will be used, is one of the key ethical considerations that's been highlighted. Thank you. And I now pass on to Professor Sujimura.
Dr. Akio Yumoto led Japanese interview survey. What about Japan? A lot of similar points were raised, but the country is at a more advanced stage, both in terms of robotics use and concerns. Care provider in Japan said, when the alert sounds and the machine tells you, if something goes wrong, turns into overconfidence. You don't pay attention to what you should be careful about. The moment I think it's okay to cut corners, I don't do it. Policymaker talked that it's about the harmony between a caregiver and a care recipient. For example, we should think about how to use it to bring out the person's personalities and how to use the technology, but it is uniform and the same for everyone. Next slide, please. A lot of hope and expectations, particularly around robotics support for mobility, new skills, and improving the image of aging. Policymaker said, probably the extreme opinion, but I think it would be nice if it could be something like a robot suit that would allow you to walk and move all the time. No one is bedridden. And care professional mentions that if the future qualities of an essential worker or a care worker are required. One of them is, of course, basic skills with care technology. As you can see, we have already a few conference presentations and we will have a book chapters and articles published. Thank you very much.